Imagine standing at the gates of a sacred ground, where heroes rest, carrying nothing but a worn-out uniform, and a folded letter in your pocket. You've served your country, bled for it, lost friends for it. Yet in that moment, you're told you don't belong. That was the reality for David Miller, a single father and a veteran who never expected that the hardest battle he'd fight wouldn't be on the battlefield, but at the gates of a general's funeral. What happened next would leave everyone in silence. Because sometimes, honor speaks louder than any rank. David Miller had lived a life shaped by service and sacrifice. Once a decorated soldier, he returned home with scars, both visible and invisible. His wife had passed away years earlier, leaving him as the only parent to his young daughter, Lily. Every morning, he packed her lunch, braided her hair the best he could, and walked her to school before heading to his shift at a repair shop. The military had taken much from him, but it had also given him discipline, loyalty, and a sense of duty he carried everywhere. When news spread that General Harrison, a man who once commanded his unit and saved countless lives, had passed away, David knew he had to be there. Harrison wasn't just a general, he was the reason David came home alive from combat. The funeral was not just about saying goodbye to a commander. It was about honoring the man who had been like a father figure when the battlefield felt like hell itself. On the day of the funeral, David dressed in his old uniform jacket. The seams were worn, the medals slightly tarnished, but it carried his pride. He held Lily's hand, her small fingers curled tightly around his, as they approached the cemetery gates. But before he could step inside, 2 guards crossed their rifles in front of him. "Name?" one of them asked. "Miller. Sergeant David Miller. I served under General Harrison." The guard scanned a clipboard and shook his head. "You're not on the list. Family and close dignitaries only." David felt the weight of humiliation press down on him. He explained, quietly but firmly, "I fought for this country. I fought under that man. I just want to pay my respects." The guard didn't budge. "I'm sorry, sir. Orders are orders. Please step back." Lily tugged on his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy. Why won't they let us in?" His heart broke. How could he explain bureaucracy, rules and red tape to a child who only knew her father as a hero? He wanted to argue, to shout, but the uniform he wore reminded him of discipline. So, he stood there, dignity intact, though inside he felt crushed. As the procession prepared to begin, whispers spread of a commotion at the gates. A black car pulled up, and out stepped General Robert Stanton, a 4-star general known for his strictness and unshakable loyalty to those who served. His presence carried weight, even the guards stiffened, snapping to attention. "General Stanton, sir." One guard saluted, but before they could explain, the general's eyes locked on David. "What's going on here?" Stanton asked, his voice cutting through the tense air. "Sir, this man is not on the approved list for entry," the guard explained quickly. Stanton studied David for a moment. The worn uniform, the medals clinging to fabric like silent witnesses, the little girl clutching her father's hand. Recognition flickered in Stanton's eyes. "Sergeant Miller," Stanton said, his voice softening. "You served under Harrison in Kandahar, didn't you?" David straightened his back. "Yes, sir. He was my commanding officer. I just wanted to pay my respects. But I wasn't allowed." What happened next stunned everyone. General Stanton turned sharply to the guards, his tone now thunderous. "Halt everything." The guards froze. The funeral procession paused. All eyes turned to Stanton as he stepped forward, placing a hand firmly on David's shoulder. "This man fought alongside our brothers. He bled for this flag. He raised his daughter alone while carrying the weight of sacrifice most will never understand. If he cannot stand at the general's grave, then none of us deserve to." A heavy silence fell. Lily's eyes welled with tears as she looked up at her father, finally seeing the honor she always knew he carried, being recognized by someone of power. General Stanton then saluted David, an act so profound it brought veterans and soldiers alike to tears. Slowly, the guards lowered their rifles, and Stanton led David and Lily inside himself. The funeral continued, but the moment that everyone remembered wasn't the polished speeches or the folded flags. It was the sight of a single dad veteran, standing with his daughter beside a general's casket, saluted by the highest-ranking officer in the country. For David, it wasn't just about gaining entry, it was about dignity restored, about showing his daughter that true honor is never denied, no matter what the paperwork says. The story of Sergeant David Miller reminds us that respect cannot be measured by lists, ranks, or rules. It is measured by sacrifice, loyalty, and love. Sometimes the smallest voices, like a daughter asking why her father is turned away, echo the loudest truths. And sometimes, it takes one act of courage, one man willing to halt everything, to remind us of what truly matters: honor, humanity, and never forgetting those who gave everything for others.